It's been a minute since I've done a solo RPG demo session kind of on the fly using things I have lying around. And I've been distracted a bit from doing that due to trying to respond to viewers' requests and emails that I get asking me to do certain types of videos, treat certain systems, seek stuff out. And I love getting those requests, and I do try to follow up on the ones that seem to make sense for the channel. But I thought this morning wanted to just I just want to do something kind of on the fly, like in the spirit of the holidays and possible travel. If I was grabbing something to have like a solo RPG in my bag, what would I take, and what how could I spend some time away from my lovely family to just take a moment to myself somewhere with what I brought with me? So what I've got for you, I'll put the links to all of this material down below, where I got it, where you could get it. And I may bring in some other things, but for the moment, this is what I think I'm going with. My little system is going to be Brighthammer. This is a rules light high fantasy system, and it is by Christina Sion Bush, art by Hodag RPG. And I actually don't really remember where I got this, but I'll try to figure that out and put it up for you. You can see it's super light. This is the player handbook, the bestiary, and the GM guide. We may be going outside of there for some things, but, well, in fact, we will be going outside of there because I'm going to use Errant rules for some magic stuff. And I picked this up a little while ago. Haven't been able to make it work so much for me on its own, but it's got a great magic system that we're going to kind of use in our story. For our story, I'm going to go to my own book, Wanderings. I think for the overall setting, the overall context of what is going on, and possibly to my own A Place Underground for a dungeon flavor and underground setting. We'll see if we get there. I'm not sure. And I'm going to be using Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios by Madeline Hale, possibly for some artifacts or treasures or goals. I don't know. We'll see. These are just sort of the things I think I'm going to use. And then from my own solo GM guide, I'm going to be using some tables there for some emotionality and maybe also for some basic oracle stuff. We will see about that as well. Got some cards here for the characters that I will make. I think I'm going to make 3 characters, and we're going to start out with the basics of, I think we're going to start out with the basics of our setting kind of situation here, and I'm going to roll my D88s. So let's roll this D88 and see. We got a 2 and an 8, and this is going to tell us something about what's going on here. I passed from the veiled woman's side, over the sear lines on the turf which had been traced by the triangles of light long since extinguished, and toward the verge of the circle. As I advanced, overhead rushed a dark cloud of wings, birds dislodged from the forest on fire and screaming in dissonant terror as they flew toward the farthermost mountains. Close by my feet hissed and glided the snakes, driven forth from their blazing coverts and glancing through the ring, unscared by its waning lamps. Even the terrible death adder, which I trampled on as I halted at the verge of the circle, did not turn to bite, but crept harmless away. Well, right away, this is giving us, I don't even have to read the rest right now to see we're in an outside location. There is a burning forest on fire, and the animals, the snakes, are coming out of the fire, driven forth from that, and there is some type of ring that is perhaps a magic ring, a circle of some sort. Maybe it's the source of this fire, the sorcery, I don't know. As we read on, we can see that there is a footprint, a giant footprint, and it says all the rest of the form was unseen, only after volume of smoke poured on from the burning land beyond. It seemed as if one great column of vapor settled itself aloft from the circle, and out from that column came this giant foot. And as strode the foot, so with it came, like the sound of its tread, a roll of muttered thunder. So something, this vaporous circle is generating some kind of form that is coming out, but we also have forests on fire in the distance, and we have some mountains. So that is going to be the overall setting. I don't think at the moment I could roll on. I'm going to give a dungeon roll just to kind of see if this tells me anything. I got a 22. Let's just see what, well, this is so interesting. All right. Just for some more flavor, there was a moment's absolute stillness. Then came a wild scream of fright from his horses, and he heard them gallop off madly into the night. Slowly, like a lamp turned down and then finally turned out, the blaze of the moon faded into utter darkness. And in that darkness, which whispered with a gradually increasing noise of scratchings and scamperings, he felt that the walls of the narrow chamber where he stood were, as in a dream, going farther and farther away from him, until, though still the darkness was impenetrable, he knew that he was standing in some immense space. One wall he fancied was still near him, but the space was full of unseen presences, extended away and to both sides of him and in front of him. Then he was aware that he was not standing but sitting, for beneath his hands he could feel the arms of some throne, of which the seat's edge pressed him just below the knees. And at that, the withdrawn light began to glow once more, only now it was not the whiteness of the moon, but a redder glow as of frames that aspired and sank again. What's interesting about this, even though it's like in an underground setting, there's flames, there's some sort of transformation and mysticism here, just as we have this transformation of this kind of vaporous circle. So I'm getting a theme of transformation. We have this concept of the throne. Maybe one of our characters is royalty or something. I don't know. But now with those concepts in minds, those concepts and ideas in mind, I am going to start to make some characters, or at least a character. I said at the outset I felt like I was going to do 3 characters, but I don't know. Maybe it's just going to be the one. I'm not sure, but we'll see. This is suggesting to me a lone character, but let's give it a roll and see. So for character creation here in Brighthammer, essentially what we're doing is we're rolling 3 d10s plus a d20, and we're doing this 4 times to assign our values of agility, influence, vigor, and wits. And we're going to get some benefits. This is basically like a percentage system. So we'll be rolling, we're coming up with a number that we need to roll under for a success. As you can imagine, this is a very rules-light game. I like it because it's D100 based, and with the way my brain works, which is rather simply, it's always easier for me to visualize if I have a 45 in a skill, for example, what that actually means in terms of the likelihood of something happening. What is useful here, as you'll see, is since it's so rules light, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of adding and modifying the rules, and you'll see me doing a bit of that. But let's set out first off. We're going to get these will be my character cards in the end, but we're going to get a notebook here. And all right, now we're going to roll for stats. And this is the first house rule here. You were supposed to roll 3d10 plus a 20 to get the 4 stats that we can then assign with agility, influence, vigor, and wits. In my plays of this game, I have found it's so swingy. So my house rules, I'm going to assign a 10 to one of the dice, and then I'm going to roll the 2 d10s and a 20 and add that 10. Now, in this case, we got a 19. See, we got a 1 and a 6. So we're starting out here with 29, 36. So we have a 36 here, and I will be assigning them. And oops, I forgot that. Sorry, this is supposed to be assigned to 10. And we got a 17. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. So that's a 42. And 27, we got a 37. And another 10, 27, 31. So even with that house rule, whoops, you can see here, our base stats are, they're not super great. Now, there are add-ons. So what we need to do is we can roll or choose a lineage and a class. And we're going to go random here, and it's a D100 roll. So let's see what our lineage is a 46, is going to be, fiend skinned. I like it. Fiend skinned what? A fiend skinned 20 is a fiend skinned bard. Huh. Okay. A fiend skinned bard. Now, let's move back here and see. It says that we can add +5 to one stat that reflects our class training. So as a bard, I'm going to say, and this is where, again, it's very much interpretive. What would be our highest stat? Probably influence, I'm guessing. Maybe we're some sort of change maker. So I'm going to give the 42 to influence, and I'm going to, with a +5 to that. So 47 is our influence stat. And I'm going to give wits to 37 because I want us to have magic as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. And let's see, then we get agility and vigor. I'll give us vigor of a 36 and agility of 31 will be our lowest stat. Note 4 things you can do, know about, or are skilled at because of your lineage or class. Now, when you do this, you also give a +10 to what you're working with there. So at the outset, we are going to say that there's 4 things here, and one of those things is going to be, whoops, I am desperately in need of a new tripod. One of these things is going to be magic, and I don't know why I'm drawing this like this, but one of these things is going to be magic, and for magic, we will use our wits to cast magic, which means that for magic casting, we will be at a 47 or under. I'm going to say that we are also going to be skilled at close combat fighting. We are this fiendskin bard. We maybe have a stealthy dagger that we use. So we're going to be using our dagger for melee combat. So we're going to be having a 46 for our attribute there. For influence, as a bard, it's going to be, I think we're going to say trickery is something, even though we have our dagger, we're more of a charismatic person who, with our magical whatever instrument we have here, we can influence or trick people or charm them. We'll call it charming. And so for that, in a situation like that, we would be at a 57. And what else do we want to be? I think, our agility is low, so it's going to be tough to come up with something. But our wits, we're also going to say that we are skilled at, we'll call it sort of travel or navigation or discernment of geography or place or something like that. So we're going to observation, maybe observation is the way to go there. And that will be a 47 because that will involve our wits. So those are 4 things we're skilled at. We're going to get to the magic in a moment. And note our equipment and items. Well, in terms of our equipment, I already said we're going to have a dagger. Now, there aren't encumbrance rules here per se. There are, what I'm going to do is, my rule for that is I'm taking the number here for my basic vigor stat and putting a plus sign in between it and saying that is how many slots I have to carry things. So I'm going to say that I have 9 slots, and for simplicity's sake, everything takes up a slot. So we're going to get to spells and such like that. So this will include if we find things, if we're carrying them, just anything is going to be into a slot. So I'm not going to start out with 9 things, but we're going to have 9 possibilities of carrying things here. Again, this is my house rule. And I am going to give us some spells. We're going to have, maybe we're going to have D4 spells. We're going to go to Errant to work out the magic and the spells and such. We do need a name. Let me just see. Okay, so just to give a tinge of the rules here, again, if we do something, we're going to be, or attempt to do something based on one of our stats that we sort of define, we need to roll under that stat. So I didn't say what I was trying to do here, but this is an 86, so that was going to be a failure no matter what. And if we are doing something that is based on something from our lineage or our class, Fiend-Skinned Bard, or these stats here, we get to add 10 to it. I've already defined certain things based on the skills that would add a 10, but Fiend-Skin per se, whatever that is, could come up, and then we would also get to add the 10 onto that. When we get to combat, we'll talk about that. An important thing here is the concept of fate. So fate is a dial here that we can use fate to gain 10 to a roll, to prevent a damage, to heal wounds, or to survive past our 5th wound. We have essentially 5 health. And we get to mark a segment of this whenever we roll double. So we are rolling a lot of D100s in this game. So that would mean, basically, I guess a 9% chance of rolling 22, 32, 33, 44, whatever, to mark fate. So I do have to kind of remember to do that. And this will be a value that will go up and down as we use it. So our Fiend-Skin Bard, we need to give a name to that. Don't know. I don't have the name off the top of my head yet, but I want to give our Fiend-Skin Bard some things. And for this, we're going to go first to this artifacts here. Let's see, is there something, musical instruments, 379. Awesome. So let's see, first of all, this is going to take up a slot. I need to do a D20 roll here within that. I forgot. All right, 12. All right, Weeping Fiddle, a waspy haygum fiddle with an ebony soundbox and silken strings. This instrument sounds incredibly mournful and tortured. Anyone who hears it must struggle to keep from sobbing. The history: this instrument is commonly played by priests of the White Moon, who are known for their ornate and beautiful funerary ceremonies. Priests of the White Moon. So it is possible. All right, we have a weeping fiddle. Now, I said that we can charm people with our music, but maybe the way we do that is we appeal to their emotionality or something. And it says priests of the White Moon. So maybe we are some type of priests of the White Moon. We mentioned, I think, I need to go back and check, but I feel like the moon was mentioned in one or both of the setting things. I'm going to go back and put this up in editing to see how that may come into play. But I'm going to say we are some type of, maybe we are the Fiend-Skinned Bard. This is like the sorrowful Fiend-Skinned Bard is a wandering, some sort of wandering character. We talked about magic, and to fill out this character here, we're going to go to Errant. And Errant has a really interesting magic system where you do a couple of things. We're, again, taking it out of this rule set. But basically, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll on the essence and sphere tables here. So this is a D50 table. So we'll take our D100 and we will divide it in half, and we got a 62. So we're going to look at 31, improve. So this is going to give us the essence of some magical spell, and it's a D12. Improve what? Improve elements. So we have this concept, improve elements, and then we're going to roll on the D100 to see what the grimoire exactly is. And we got 10. We picked up, ooh, it's a crystal ball. Crystal ball set upon a base of carved ebony. Didn't our fiddle, was our fiddle ebony? I have to check that. Ebony, I'm not sure. To learn this sorcery, you must learn the way you will die. Ooh, clairvoyance, truth, and fortune. And then in this rule set, it gives you some options of what this means. But for me, I'm taking this just thematically. So we have this crystal ball, improve element, crystal ball, that it will, it's a sorcery of some sort. Oh, wait, let me write the themes of that sorcery down. Clairvoyance, truth, and fortune. We had this concept of clairvoyance, truth, and fortune. We know we are this fiddler, and we can foretell death. Perhaps that is perhaps we can foretell death, but it says the theme of it was improvement. So perhaps instead of foretelling death, we have a spell that we can cast, a warning spell or something like that. That we can cast a warning spell maybe on an NPC or on another party member, if we have another party member, to warn them of something, to protect them, perhaps to give them an advantage when they are in combat or when they are trying to save themselves from some evil, that we take out our crystal ball and cast this spell it's like a protective kind of spell. And that is going to go right into our third slot. And I realized before we go much farther, I said that I would have D4 spells, but I never really rolled for that. So we're going to get 3 spells. So we're going to get 2 more spells, and I'm going to continue along choosing them this way because it's kind of, I like it. It's fun. Anyway, let's do another roll here for the essence of the spell, and that is going to be a 31, and that will be another improve. I think that's what I got before. Oh no, it's a 12, a D12 roll. There, 6, improve the body. So we have our first spell had the theme of improving elements, and now we're improving body. So it's like one theme could just be we improve our environment basically in some manner. And let's see what this actual spell is. 84. We've got a fragmented pane of a stained glass window. To learn the sorcery, you must see the truth unmediated. The themes of shatter, sight, and distortion. Any piece of glass near the caster shatters into tiny pieces. We see everything in delirious, disorienting, microscopic detail. Everything close to us appears incredibly small, and everything far away incredibly large. So there's a distortion here of reality, shatter, sight, and distortion. Interestingly, this is related to our crystal ball here. Shatter, sight, distortion. And that is going to be spell or sorcery 84. And this is going to be it's some sort of, it's unmediated truth. We can cast a warning spell. We can see unmediated truth. I think that we are, as a wandering bard, perhaps maybe we were cast out because we saw the truth about something that was going on in the land that we were in, and it was not liked by the people who were in the land. And all right, let's see. We got a 46 on that receive. And the D12, receive 9. Receive life. So we have receive life is a theme here, and this will be our last sort of spell that we're learning or having. 18. A sphere of glass filled with an ever-whirling snowstorm. To learn the sorcery, you must move while frozen solid. Ice, cessation, continuation. We can freeze any liquid we come into contact with. We're unable to stop doing any activity we start doing, or we become unable to complete any task. Freeze any liquid we come into contact with. It's interesting because we're standing in front of a vaporous circle. That's not a liquid, it's a vapor. But all right, so we have this sphere of glass with an ever-whirling snowstorm. But I want to start out as we're standing here, we see our character. I want to go to the character attitude table here in the Solo GM guide because I want to have a sense of like what we're feeling and a sort of a way to start us out here in this world as we stand in front of this vaporous circle and we see the burning forest in one distance in front of us, and in the behind us we see there is a forest there. So we're going to roll on this character attitude table with some D6s and see what we get. A 56, and we are curious. So we're going to be doing some type of investigation, and I guess the question to ask is just, I don't know if my character is alone. So I'm going to roll this D20 Fate Mill die to ask a simple question. Is my character alone? And let's see what we get here. No, we get a solid no. And so not only are we not alone, but out of this vapor circle, we know that we had seen something kind of rise up out of it, and something else is going to start to appear out of this vapor circle. And the question is, what is that appearing in front of us? It's going to be some type of NPC, and I think it's going to be a ghost of something because it's coming out of this vapor circle, and it is a ghost of a stevedore. So we have conjured up this ghost or failed stevedore, somebody who has been loading and unloading cargo from the ships that come to the shore of the castle of the empire that we are on the outskirts of, and we are, as the bard, I think we were cast out from this royal encampment, this castle fortress area, for perhaps for the visions that we have been putting forth that people don't like. And the stevedore is a symbol also of the internal and external coming together, the things moving in and out of the docks into the castle and out of the castle, and the relationship of the rulers in the castle to the rest of the land. And so I think it is our fate to try to step into this circle, and the circle as a place of transition, and step into the circle and see what we find in the other side. If the circle might be a portal between the world that we are and where we want to go. So we have a sort of travel navigation stat here that we could roll under to determine whether we are. I would take that roll to mean a success, meaning that we end up in a place that is going to be welcoming to us, a good place, and a failure into a bad place. This is the this is how I'm going to interpret the results of this roll, 47 or under. Oh, we rolled a 55, so just over it. So moving through the circle, we find ourselves in a place that is not entirely welcoming to us. And what kind of a place is this on the other side of the circle? Let's see what kind of a place it is. We've transitioned into a, well, it is a nautical place. So we've actually we followed this stevedore to the docks. And let's see, we can do this D10 roll here to see something about, we are coming to a misty, uncharted island. And we have followed this stevedore there, and it is, what type of place is it? So we followed the stevedore through that vaporous circle to a misty, uncharted island that is, it is shimmering with, and as we walk through this misty island, a physical event is going to happen to change this scene. And what is that going to be? The impact of that event is going to be remove simple element. Well, I think that would mean that the stevedore vanishes, and now we are finding ourselves alone in this wilderness, removed from where we were. But we need to look around and see what we see. I'm going to ask, have we entered the kingdom? No, but perhaps we see the gates of it's a fortress. It is a walled castle on the island, and that is where we have come from, and that is where we are trying to get back to. And we need to approach these gates and deal with the guards that are there. And it is indeed guarded. And we recall that there was, at the outset, there was mention of a big bird that was flying around, and perhaps the bird is indicative of some of what is guarding this. Yeah, we've got we are guarded here. This castle wall is indeed guarded. It's guarded by some death knights, and we'll say there's D3 of them. So it's got two death knight guards, and it also has, to come to their aid, there are some, we're going to say a couple of one owlbear. So we've got two death knights, one owlbear guarding this fortress, the stone gates here, that as we're approaching, and that is what we're going to need to deal with now. So as we approach this area and we see the knights, and it's guarded, and this owlbear flying around, we know we will be overpowered if we just run in with our basic dagger. We're all alone here. But we do have our weeping fiddle, and we can attempt to use this to charm the guards, perhaps, or maybe all of them, I don't know, charm the guards at least with the sorrowful, mournful sound of it. And perhaps the outcome of that charm, maybe on a big success, would be that they would just be overcome and fall to the ground, or perhaps it would have them have some sort of disadvantage if we were to try to sneak by. So I think the first roll I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to use to see if I can use the fiddle to charm, and for that I'm going to need to be rolling at less than 57, and I got a 17 there, so that's a pretty big success. So we take out our weeping fiddle, and we are playing our mournful tune, and it is a tortured sound that is, we rolled a pretty big success there. So this enchantment of this fiddle is working at least on the guards who are just sort of overcome with sorrow and kind of stand there in a stupor. But we still have this owl bear to deal with, and I'm gonna ask. Let's ask: is the owl bear susceptible to this charm? No. Oh, that's a strong no. So I think what we want to do is not. We don't want to engage with this thing, and we need to, in effect, sneak away. Now, there is a rule here in the game that says if you're disengaging from combat, you can roll with advantage. We're not exactly in combat, but I'm going to give us the little benefit here because our agility, we're really going to have to roll under our agility, which is only a 31. So I'm going to let us roll two times to see if we can sneak away, basically. And we roll. Oh wow, we rolled a 30 here. I didn't really clarify that, but we rolled a 30. So we just managed to get in the underbrush and kind of hide as this owl bear is swooping around looking for us because they tend to be aggressive animals, and we are hiding here in outside the gates of this castle. And I think at this point it's feeling to me like the end of this kind of a potential end of a scene. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll to see kind of what would happen next. So going to this intervention type D6 table that is going to give us a new direction of some sort for the next scene or what's happening, and it came up with new entities. So something completely new, something that is not related directly at all to anything we've seen, is going to be appearing in the story. And while I wasn't rolling on this to confirm my sense that the scene is sort of over, I think the fact that it says new entity is even further support for that concept. And I've talked about this in a bunch of videos. I talk about it in the solo GM guide, that there are times when you are playing out a scene that it is a point of a natural point of ending. The narrative is just ending. And so what we did here in this video so far is to show that is we had a scene happening, and now we're ending with our character, the priest of the white moon, sort of crouched in the bushes or something, this hiding outside of this castle, and that's it. The scene is over. So to continue on with this story, one would want to shift focus. That's at least what I would do. I would go either to developing to some other resources that I have to develop perhaps the setting inside the castle. Is that a castle town or whatever? And perhaps give that a life, give that some vibrancy, and perhaps out of that an NPC or NPCs would arise, and maybe there would be something there in a story that NPCs would be exiting, the perspective would shift, maybe they would be coming out and finding our fiendskin bard crouching in the bushes, or who knows. At a certain point earlier in the video, I don't think I said this, but I was just thinking it as I was setting the scene with the character at the outset standing outside that vaporous circle. I had this feeling of a story that could develop where this priest of the white moon was actually going in search of his princess love. Perhaps it was a forbidden love or something. I don't know. That sort of came into my mind at one point, although the fiend skin part didn't really fit because that was kind of more like a high fantasy kind of scenario as opposed to something where I was envisioning the character as more human. And of course, that if you're effectively creating a lived story through role-playing games materials, which is really what solo RPG is, you will find that your characters are going to start to dictate the narrative, even if it kind of is in contradiction to or overcomes a something that you've rolled up as the basis for your character. Like in my mind, the the character was turning really more into like a human. I was seeing this character as a human back when we were talking about the character in the environment and the vaporous circle and the types of spells the character had. And again, if one is playing out some type of story using role playing materials and support, as is what you're doing with solo RPG, that will happen. And it's important to allow yourself the freedom to abandon something that you may have rolled up in order to let the story go in the direction that it feels like it should be going in. So in this case, I do have the real sense of this character kind of crouching outside in the bushes outside this castle, and now I'm seeing like it's moonlit and beautiful and whatever, and the owl bear is flying around and maybe signaling to those inside that there is someone outside. And maybe we turn now to a different set of materials, a different set of random tables that will help us create a Castletown life, and within that an NPC who is looking up in the sky and seeing this owl bear and maybe recognizes the significance of it and turns to exit the castle and go in search of whoever is outside, and then what connection do those two have. And that's the sense I'm getting from this story, how it would or could develop. And of course you could even go off script, as it were, and just turn to a journal and write out the story. You have the basis of something here. There's nothing that says you can't move away from the mechanical materials you started with to go in a different direction and write out some narrative that happens. So that is, I think, where I will leave things here. This is the solo RPG session in your pocket. Wishing everybody all the best for the holiday season. If you're gathering with friends or family or doing some special thing on your own to mark the end of the calendar year, I hope you have some enjoyment and get to play some games along the way.